Morning, thanks for signing in.
Good morning. Morning, Angela.
Hi,
Morning, Sharanjit.
Roger says to say hello.
Oh, how is he doing? All good?
Yes, he's fine.
Oh, good. Thank you. And please pass on my hello too.
Okay, I will. Okay, Nike, I'll mute myself now. Okay.
Okay, so I'm not sure if we'll get any more people signing in. We didn't have that many people signed in. I know we signed up for it. I know we had some apologies. People can't attend, but I'll send them the recording of the session. We might get some more people join as we go along. So my name's Ian Elliott, Funding and Group Development Officer with the Ealing House CVS. I'm sure you know who Nyoka is as well. So yeah, this session is about some of the sort of online research tools you can use to get particularly statistics, often known as like quantitative information, which can be very useful for your funding bids to make that evidence of need case. Every funding application, there will always be a question of why is a project needed. So you need to be able to persuade the funder that there is a need for it. It's a good idea to use a combination of both. Well, I'll come on to that as we go along anyway. So the quantitative research, bit of a mouthful to say. As I've kind of alluded to, it's statistics, things that can be measured within the collection and analysis of data, often described as hard, rigorous, numerical, factual, and it's quantity over quality. So it's that's why the source of it is important, because it needs to be believable from the perspective of the funder. They want to know that you haven't just made the figure up. And then qualitative. So this is often described as soft, more insight and depth, allows representation of the world from participants' perspective. This is what the more of the research you can do by yourself in terms of your own community research with the people who are going to benefit from your project about why they think it's needed. So it's from their perspective, it's not like an objective truth as such. It's them saying why they need it. Likewise, if you're already running a service or project and you've got feedback from that, then you can use that. Typically, it's a good idea if you're going to run a project on a small scale. On a pilot basis, you could say, get the feedback from that, then you can use that as part of your evidence of need about, we ran a project on a small scale, it was successful, but the need is increased. So now we want more funding to scale it up to meet the increased need. And it's a good idea, like I say, in that evidence of need question, to use both the hard data from official source statistics, which we're going to go into a bit more detail today, but also that more qualitative, softer data from the perspective of the people who are benefiting or will benefit from the future project, about why it's needed, how it's helped them. So it tends to be, it's not so much numerical, it's more using words to describe how they, well, it can be numerical in the sense of, numbers of local people who are going to benefit in the community, that kind of thing. So statistics are information in a numerical form, viewed as reliable and factual. Obviously, from the funder's perspective, they're seeing it as reliable and factual. It's good as well because you can make comparisons. So if you want to make a comparison to why a project is needed in Hounslow, you can compare it to other London boroughs. There's information out there on how different boroughs compare with each other. You remember there's 32 different London boroughs, particularly important if you're applying to a pan-London fund like Trust for London. The information in statistics means you can convey it succinctly, which is important when you bear in mind you've normally got word limits in applications, funding applications, so you need to that's a benefit of them. Obviously good for defining things, so scale of issues, like I say, being able to compare it across different areas, giving an overview. So why use statistics in funding applications? Like I say, funders they'll want you to demonstrate that knowledge, but also that evidence of need. So you effectively set up the need for the funding for your project or service. Essentially demonstrate support for your project as well in terms of if you did a survey of local people, how many people were involved, stakeholders and stuff. So yeah, it helps you things like alter trends. So are things getting better or worse? So you can look through the statistics over time. So if we're looking at things like, good one would be if you're supporting older people, we know demographic trends are kind of, there's going to be more older people. So, older people living in isolation, for example, is not a problem. This probably is a problem that's only going to get worse because of the trends of an aging society. Likewise, you might want to look at other things like deprivation. What's the trend in deprivation? Has it been getting worse? Or so sometimes, some figures they will produce some things like the London Data Store GLA will produce projection figures as well. So population. So I mean, this is where it links in with things like the census. So obviously we just had a census. The census is the most methodical, systematic source of official data, population data, but it's only every 10 years. So it does tend to get a bit out of date after a while. So that's why things like, population projections are important because, we'll have a fairly accurate assessment of the population size with a census, but then in a few years' time, it'll be a bit out of date. So that's why things like the GLA, they produce population projections in terms of how the population will be in a few years' time, what the composition will be. And also, obviously things like enable you to make comparisons, national, regional, local situations. Like I say, as a London borough, it's useful to have those comparisons with other London boroughs because from funders' perspectives, they can make comparisons because, London boroughs vary in size, but they are relatively comparable in terms of population size, particularly outer London boroughs. Obviously, we cover Reading and Hounslow, so we can see that. Sometimes helps you make that case. So remember, you're always making that case. This is an activity you probably would have done in the class. So in Hounslow, there used to be something called in terms of online research tools, there used to be something called Hounslow Insight, which was run by the council with, they were paying an external company to provide that service. They've now stopped that. So the new website is called the Hounslow Data Hub. I'm hoping that we'll get someone in from the council at some point to do a presentation about how to use the this new tool. I mean, I can sort of show you some of the basics now. It's just there to help you easily access local data about the borough, bringing together a wealth of data from reliable nationally recognised sources, providing an overview of Hounslow and its community. So I'll just sorry. So this is the website here. You can see, so it's quite, you can see like projected total population 2021, source, and this is a good idea when you write your bids, to put in. You don't have to have full footnotes. You can just put in, for example, if you wanted to put in your need, housing population is projected to hit 283,778 by 2021. You could literally just put brackets GLA. It's just as long as there's some kind of or brackets ONS, just to give an indication to the funder that the statistics you've got are from an official source, normally a government source. So this enables you to go into detail by clicking on a particular ward, for example. You can then brings up certain data relating to that ward. So information about the population, the economy, economic activity, housing, crime, deprivation, health, environment. You can also create your own particular area if you wanted to look at a particular area that you're wanting to find yourselves. I think you can also I think this is just enabling you to click on particular data sets that haven't been turned into so that's a link to the ONS where they've got that data from. But yeah, you can get, like, if you look at the raw data, it's a bit more difficult because if you just got an Excel spreadsheet, it's harder to see the trends, whereas here they put things into like charts and pie graphs and stuff like that, which enables you to see the trends a bit more easily. I think you should be able to see the stuff that information at a ward level as well, sorry, the borough level. But like I say, I'm still getting used to this this website after having the Housing Insight was there for a long time, so that was the main. Yeah, and there is an Ealing data set as well. So maybe I should put that in. I don't think we've got any Ealing groups today, so.
Ian, would you be able to add that in the session notes when you send? Because I will be sending it to some Ealing groups too. There is a training that's already done on the e-ring data website, and I've saved that in the knowledge bank. I'll be adding the links on to our chat if anyone is interested. Maybe Ian can add it into the session notes too. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think we've got we did record a session about the delivered by from people from Ealing, wasn't it? About the
Yeah, the ones that created the site, the creators of the portal, they came in and had a session, so I recorded it and I've saved it. It gives you an exact, run through of how to use the website. It's very similar to the one that you have in Hounslow, but does give a simplified way of looking at it.
so yeah, another good source is London Data Store. It's got lots of data sets on there, over 800 data sets, free to access. You can also get in touch with them at Civil Society at london.gov.uk if you want particular information from them. I'll just go to the website, show you how it works. This is Mayor of London, London Assembly GLA. You can go to a area profile, is quite a good start off. And then if you just click on it, it brings up a map of London. Then you can click on Hounslow. It should bring up some information here as well. So it's got some information already on here in terms of things like ethnic makeup, education. You can also view a report for Hounslow. So it's got their 2018 population projection, as I was here, going all the way up to 2050. Comparing population in other London boroughs, age breakdown, ethnic makeup of Hounslow, 2018 figures. Country of birth, obviously that was the last census figure, so that will be updated at some point in the next couple of years with the census figures from last year. So some of this information will obviously be on the other website I just referred to, but this one's easy to use as well. Things like property price comparisons, education, deprivation. So that's always a good place to start off if you are looking for a particular information, particular statistics. Obviously, if you can't find them there in the report, you could try just going to the data sets, because obviously sometimes you're looking for a particular piece of information. I remember I was looking for one on serious youth violence, but it's not actually a category which is recorded on a normal basis by the police. The police just record violence. They don't necessarily record it as a particular category. So it took a while to find it because it was just a. So I mean, if you were looking at, say, NEETs, you can look up data that will bring up a data set. So this is the Department of Education data, and you can look at the spreadsheet. And it'll give you the figures in terms of numbers and the borough. Obviously, I'd say this is just a spreadsheet, so you can't see the trends, but you could, obviously, if you found figures that you were looking for, you could turn them into your own chart, pie chart or graph, whatever, to see, better be able to see trends. So yeah, there are a lot of data sets which have not been turned by them into graphs and charts. You can do that yourself once you find the correct piece of information you're looking for. So you can also just go to general topics. So yeah, I'd say London Data Store is easy, it's very easy to use website. It's always a good place to start off. Just some exercises there. Trust for London. It's a funder, but it also has information on, particularly good at comparing different boroughs to each other with data. Yeah, it's called the London Poverty Profile, information they compile. They're very concerned as a funder about deprivation, so they have lots of information there about deprivation, how boroughs rank in terms of key areas around deprivation. They did change it recently, to my opinion, and it's not quite as good as it was in the past. I can just go to so if you wanted to, for example, get information about new living wage rates, they have information. Trust for London did fund as a key player in the London living wage. So as I say, they're very interested in poverty, deprivation. And obviously, if you're applying to Trust for London, very good idea to use statistics they've produced themselves, because they're going to have a lot of confidence in that. It's also going to look quite good because you've used their tool they've invested in. There's also a video you can watch there in terms of getting some information. And if you go down to boroughs, you can look, for example, information about Hounslow. Yeah, I mean, I think it's not quite as good in terms of we used to be quite clear about how the boroughs ranked on key indicators out of the 32, with one being the top, I think 32 being the worst, but it's not quite as clear to read now. But certainly a tool worth looking at, like I say, especially if you're going to apply to Trust for London. I good to use their own information. The index of multiple deprivation. This has statistics on relative deprivation in small areas in England. These areas are called lower layer super output areas. So they're basically the size of a postcode. So I think up to average about 1,500 people. So quite what they call granular, going down to a small level of detail. There are various sort of maps out there relating to it you can use. So this is one where this is updated every couple of years. So last one, 2019. You can sort of zoom in on the area you want to look at. So if we're looking at Hounslow, you need to work out what number. So they've got different numbers, like 027A. You need to work out which particular, if there's a particular LSOA you were interested in, or LSOAs around a particular area, then it'd be useful to get the numbers, and then you can and in fact there is another map which is slightly this one compares we can have 2015 and 2019. So basically, the darker the color, then the higher the level of deprivation. So it's quite good at seeing pockets of deprivation in areas where otherwise there isn't much deprivation. So you can see down here, there's Ivy Bridge Estate comes up as quite high level of pocket deprivation. Now this used to work, you'd be able to click on it and give you data. But I'm not sure this particular map works anymore. Oh yeah, here we go. So it gives you where it ranks, what the ward it's in. So it is amongst the most 10% most deprived neighbourhoods in the country. So obviously, if you wanted to make the case that the area you're working in or the project you're running is in an area of high deprivation, it's very good to say, it ranks in the top 10% most deprived. I think the lighter blue is top 20% most deprived.
Ian, this is Shanti here. I would like to learn more of a practical side of it myself with the training. So this is how I will learn a lot more and quicker as well. I've got a real request that, next time I would like to learn it with the practical side of it, please. So if I search on practical online myself, within the training, so I will learn much better and quicker as well, please.
You mean give you a task to do yourself?
Sorry, I didn't hear it.
You mean if I give you a task, then you have to try and do it
Yeah,
yourself?
either a task or in the class, if you just say, search this, and then you wait, and then we are doing it together with you. And also try to have like award systems to the organizations, how many sessions they are attending throughout the year. So it will encourage more and more people, organization and people to join you with these meetings, I think. You know, it's worth a try.
Yeah, I mean, when I used to do real life training in the room, it was
Yeah.
slightly longer. It was scheduled for like 2 hours, so there would be more time to do these kind of
Yeah, definitely, I can understand.
exercises.
Yeah, even with a smaller session, if we can, during this training, if we can practice with ourselves, you said to us that go to Google, do this, now search, that will help me personally to build up much faster and quicker. You know, by talking, you listen and then it goes out of your mind. Unless we write and practice, it helps a great deal. Honestly, it does. So I've got the request, please.
Yeah, thanks. Let me know. So yeah, it's taking a while this now to bring up.
Sharanjit, what you could
Hi.
do is also,
Yeah.
if you can use another screen, you could put on this, or you could do it uh, at a later time. Use the link
Yeah.
that Ian has put up, and try this video along with the recording, since we shot on time today. And if it's not working with you, you can come back to us.
Angela, if you wanted to get her to do
Yeah,
that.
I will definitely give it a go. But I think as we are in the session, it's best to do it practically on the spot as well. So I will try and see how it goes.
Yeah, so as I said, index of multiple deprivation, it's about, breaks down to sort of LSOAs, about 1,500 people, roughly the size of a postcode. Office for National Statistics has a huge number of databases, has a huge number of data sets there. I think the consensus is that it's not quite as user friendly as the GLA London Data Store website. So it's probably easier to go straight to having a look at the but yeah, it's got lots of things like labour market profiles. Obviously, census statistics, like I say, they will be updated at some point. I think this obviously takes them a while to process that data, but at some point, I'm sure there'll be lots of announcements about new census data. So that will be quite good for the next few years because it will be relatively up to date. So the information there, things like to do with job seekers.
Oh,
Metropolitan Police, obviously, if you're looking at crime statistics, they have tools to see what local police forces are doing to combat crime, identifying different types of crime. It's quite good because it's updated quite a regular basis, I think every 3 months or so. So you can relatively straightforward to get up-to-date crime statistics. So you can get information about a particular area, for example. Public Health England, they produce local authority health profiles. So you can just type in Hounslow, for example. View report. This one was produced in 2019. It has information on things like it's not letting me scroll down for some reason. The adult health, child health, life expectancy. Another useful tool is the Joint Strategic Needs Assessment. So these are produced by councils every few years to basically give them an idea of how their services are going to be, what the demand for their services is going to be. So they can predict sort of how they need to design and develop their services. So obviously I've moved the page since I've so you can see there's a JSNA summary document. That was from 2017. I guess at some point it'll be scheduled to be updating or producing a new one fairly soon. I think it's good, especially if you're applying to the council. Like I said, if you can use their own information that the fund has produced, that's going to be quite persuasive. So anything to do with kind of health and well-being, I would definitely say look at the JSNA. All boroughs produce one, and you should be able to find them on their a link on their council websites. So you can see there information about things like population, mortality, ward profiles, maternity and births, child immunisation. So yeah, you always as some of these tools I've shown you, there's a lot of information about officially produced statistics. Obviously census, like I said, that's where the good part of the set. Having a census relatively recently means there will be a lot of good data coming through. You a lot of these things are produced by government departments, labour market data, educational data. You can also try looking at things like research papers produced by lobbying groups, information. And in terms of that qualitative and also your local quantitative, try doing your own surveys and polls, service user feedback. So what organisations work in your area of interests, other possible NGOs, charities, lobbying groups, academics and policy think tanks. Use Google, but obviously be aware of where the information is coming from. So a lot of times people write in their bids things like, it has been reported, or it is obvious, or it has been said. That's not really good enough, because you might have seen the information, but there needs to be a source for it. So it's either, an academic, a government department, an academic institution, university, possibly a think tank. So it's a good idea to source it. It doesn't have to be 4 footnotes. It can literally just be brackets, DWS, DWP, or brackets, University of Sheffield, something like that, with a date. And even if you see something in a newspaper, a lot of the time, as journalist is reporting on research that's been produced by one of those kind of bodies. So yeah, make sure you don't just have unattributed or unsourced claims. But Google is still a good way of doing that general kind of research. So yeah, stats, they explain the situation with clarity. Helps you make that evidence of need case. Can demonstrate support, particularly if you're doing that. If you have that statistics about local community need, if you're consulting with local community, the service users. But choose relevant statistics to support your message and project proposal. Like I say, helps you demonstrate how big is the problem. Trends, are things getting better or worse or better? How does it compare with the national, regional, local situation? And then get a demonstration that local support, how many people support the idea locally. So that's your own kind of statistical information you've produced, you can produce through possibly surveys, focus groups, that kind of thing. Has your idea been tested before? Has similar programs been run in other places that you could report on through your research? So make sure the data is relevant, up to date. Up to date is difficult because sometimes information is not produced on an annual basis. So obviously the census is the most extreme example because that's only every 10 years. But even the index of multiple deprivation, that's everything every 4 years. Joint strategic needs assessment, I think that's probably about every 4 years as well. So ideally you want things to be up to date, but the reality is that some data is only produced every few years. So you just have to cite whatever is the most up to date. So it doesn't, if you can't find, you can only use the most up to date figures you can find. So if there's not, if the latest figure you can find is a couple of years old, 2 years old, then If that's the one that's the most recent update, then that's the one you can use. So yeah, just a final recap. Funders like statistics and bids, concise because they're concise and reliable. You're able to demonstrate a lot of information about the need, but link the statistics to your overall message, particularly when you're making that case of point about need. And always reference your source, including the date it was published. And obviously, I can help you with any support you need in terms of researching those statistics for your bids. Neukers can obviously is available as well. So you just get in touch with us if you've got any questions about doing that research and putting your bids together. Any questions?
I think I will give it a go, try, and if I need the help, I will definitely get back to you, because we need the search. What is the need of this project all the time in the applications? So
Yeah.
I would really need a support. I will definitely would like to have even a one-to-one practical support, and then that'll be another skill I can learn and better myself. I'll be grateful if I can next week or week after, if I can have some time one-to-one on the search, please.
Yeah, I mean, just think about what particular
We are
information
filling
you're
applications
looking
all
for.
the time. Filling up the applications all the time, and the next project I'm looking for allotment to engage young students, youngsters. So among the youngsters, the mental health is also high, as well as older generation. So I would like to search on that, and I need help with that next week if possible. That when I get help to somebody to fill up the application, that I've done my search already to show them.
Yeah, well, I can certainly arrange a time with you to
Yeah,
help you online. Do that.
any afternoon, one-to-one, please.
Yeah, I'll check my calendar. Yeah.
Thank you, and
Hi Ian, thank you for all the links. I think they're going to be very helpful actually. You just need to look at your particular problem, don't you? In our case, mostly older people with respiratory problems, but there's plenty of sources there to go and have a look at. So yeah, thanks for this. Really good.
I mean, it's all about categorization as well. But sometimes, you might have to search, it might take a while to search for a particular, or it depends how, so illnesses, if it's a particular illness you're looking for, they might not have the,
yeah, no, I understand that.
official statistic might not be there, but obviously you can just
it might say how many older people we've got, which tend to be our set of people. Older people tend to have long-term conditions, and it's that we're looking at, not a particular one, but yeah, certainly have a look at some of those sites because they look interesting. You went through them rather quickly, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I could do, I think the, like I say, when I did it face-to-face training, it was sort of 2 hours. I think people seem to find 2 hours on Zoom is quite a long.
Yeah. No,
so
I understood why you did it so quickly. So, but
I mean, you certainly get in touch.
No, having that many websites, links, is going to help find the statistics we need to support our bids for whatever we might be bidding for. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just get in touch if you've got any.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say thank you for them. That's all. Okay.
And I say, we have had a session on the whole old Hounslow Insight website, so hopefully we'll get another session about the new Hounslow, because we're quite lucky in Hounslow. There's a dedicated website funded by the council with Hounslow-specific data.
Which was
so
that?
hopefully-
Was
Sorry?
that one that you already gave us a link to?
Yeah, so that's the Hounslow data. The first one I mentioned, the data.
Sorry, I'm trying to find Hounslow Data Hub, that one.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's the one.
Yeah,
The
that's
whole,
one I thought I'd start with, to be
Yeah.
honest. Yeah, okay.
like I
thank
say,
you.
so they've literally just launched that because they used to have another website called Hounslow Insight. So this is
Yeah.
literally a new one. Like
Yeah,
I say, we'll
but it gives insight.
hopefully
But
get
it's
someone from the council to come along and do a presentation about it.
right. Oh, yeah, that'd be good. So it's just called Hounslow Data Hub now. Well, I've got it as stats.hounslow.gov.uk. So yeah, that'd be the one.
Yeah, I'll send you the slides anyway with all the links on them.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Okay, lovely. All right, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
I think
I've put
that'll
in-
be a great help. That'll be a great help. If you send us a link, I will definitely try and then come back to you again.
I think the more practice you have, it just gets easier, and you find more things. And I'm sure at the session that we'd have, a practical session, if time permits, you'd be able to share some more tips and tricks with us. So play along with that site. It won't break. I've also got a link for feedback. If you could give us for this session. It's put into the chat, so if you click on the chat and click on the link for us, it helps us.